WWE SummerSlam 2004. The pretend Olympic Games Open is very fun, but once it gets serious, things go hard. Randy Orton versus Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle, Triple H versus Eugene, and The Undertaker challenging JBL. Stacked card, and like I said, when it gets serious, it really makes everything feel monumental and important. When the pyro goes off and the set is revealed in this Air Canada Center, everything just looks so clean. Michael Cole says SummerSlam is the cure for the summertime blues. And before we get to the first match, I'm going to let that open roll. And when we return, we'll talk about the Dudley Boys, Bubba, Devon, and Spike, the Boss, taking on Billy Kidman, Rey Mysterio, and Paul London. I really like the evil Spike character, and I look forward to putting the trio of the Dudleys together in Alpha Entertainment Worldwide so that they can dominate the Team Extreme Tornado Champions division. The opponents of Kidman, Mysterio, and London, they are top quality cruiserweights. With these six guys, this really should be a fun trios match. Devon and Kidman started out. Billy is all action all the time. Then he and Paul London double teamed Devon. Dang, Paul London has so much talent. He was always very daring, so much so that in Ring of Honor, the crowd would chant, "Please don't die," because he would take so many risks. If I had the book at this time, he would have definitely gone further. And I do plan on using Paul London to a higher extent than just a tag team championship run with Kidman that he loses and then they feud, and a cruiserweight title run. Devon tags in Spike, and Spike Dudley as a bad guy is pure money. Spike then quickly tags in Bubba. Devon then gets tagged in. It's just, these brothers are a well-oiled machine. Paul London is so good at taking damage. Michael Cole and Taz are such an underappreciated commentary duo. The heel trio of Spike, Bubba, and Devon work over Rey so aggressively. And Rey himself is very mad because Bubba and Devon cost him the Cruiserweight Championship to Spike when they all came together and revealed that Spike was the boss. Billy gets a blind tag and goes for a pin on Spike, but Bubba breaks it up. So much fast-paced action. Such a good way to start the show. Kidman gets hit with a 3D, and then Spike goes for the pin. The match went 8 minutes and 6 seconds, but in that time, they got so much in, and the Dudleys, they win this good 4 out of 5 star match. The next contest irritates me. Just the idea of the winner getting to marry the girl. Not a fan of that idea. And furthermore, I also know that in very short order, the heel in this story will become the babyface in the weirdest way possible. And that just doesn't sit well with me. That they think Lita is a prize is a good idea. But Matt Hardy versus Kane in a Till Death Do Us Part match. I hope Matt and Kane can make me get into this match because I'm just not interested in the storyline. Jerry Lawler is ludicrous, saying Kane just wants to be normal, and JR's reply to that is, "It's too late." I thought that was very amusing. It is all Matt Hardy early on. He is a man on a mission. Very nasty tornado DDT. Kane seems to be taking way more offense from Matt than I had expected, given the size difference especially. Even when Kane finally gets his first shot in on Hardy, Matt comes back with relentless amount of attacks. Lita distracts Kane, allowing Matt to hit a twist of fate on the outside, and Kane tries to win, or Matt tries to beat Kane with a countout, but Kane gets back in the ring. Lita then slides the ring bell in so that Matt can use it on Kane, while Lita distracts the referee. And thankfully, these guys, while it did feel like they were wrestling on fast forward, put on a very fine match. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Kane wins with a top rope chokeslam in 6 minutes and 8 seconds. Thankfully, the match itself was better than any of the story before, man, let's be honest, after. JR does have a funny line, wicked wedding and gruesome groom. In the back, Todd Grisham tries to interview Randy Orton, but John Cena interrupts. This is by far my favorite version of John Cena. He is just so much fun. Orton, on the other hand, is nowhere near as good as he someday will be. Up next is the WWE United States Championship Best of 5 Series opening match, so match 1. Booker T, champion, versus John Cena. Canada is big time into John. At this point, I do believe nearly every crowd was popping big for the young Doctor of Thugonomics. John and Booker begin by slugging it out. Booker is the first to gain control. John works his way back. Cole and Taz seem to love saying John never lost the U.S. title. Interestingly enough, I already feel like John, this early on in his career, is already working that very main event style. And it's interesting because, Steve Austin is the guy who brought up the concept, or to my recollection, Austin's the guy who brought up that main event style to me, the whole back and forth slugging it out, the aggressive nature. And Booker T is also a guy who feels like he's nearly always worked a top guy caliber style of wrestling, whether it be in Harlem Heat or later on staying a top guy in the Main Event Mafia. I feel like Booker was going to be a single star from the first time I saw him. Booker is such a ring general. I love seeing John keep up with Booker. John does hit his FU, the move that's not yet called the attitude adjustment. Glad we are not in the era of the crowd chanting, John can't wrestle, because this match and many others are evidence that he clearly can. John wins in 6 minutes, 25 seconds. It was a good 4 out of 5 star match. The show cuts to the back where Teddy Long, Playa, and Sleazy E, Eric Bischoff, are chatting about how Teddy is now the newest in a long line of SmackDown general managers. Eric is good at being a smug a-hole after Bischoff implies Theodore will not be lasting long. Jerry Lawler and King talk about how Raw will have a live dodgeball game tonight on the show where the Diva Search contestants take on the active Raw roster. Up next from Raw is the Intercontinental Championship Triple Threat match. Edge defending against Chris Jericho and Dave Bautista. Out first, the Enforcer of Evolution. Let's see how Canada treats its countrymen of Chris, Jericho, and Edge. Such a big fan of the championship design Edge is holding. So grateful I got it. Well, the block logo version of it last year as a gift. Batista attacks Edge before he even gets his long coat off. Then Jericho attacks that young monster Dave from behind. Love seeing Jericho be so giving to this young, jacked future star in Dave Bautista. When Edge returns to the ring, the crowd is very divided. When the three guys go to the outside, Edge drives Dave's face into the steps with a drop toe hold. Chris and Edge get back in the ring and throw hands. This is Edge's home crowd, but they could care less. To this Air Canada crowd, Edge is the villain. which is interesting because in coming soon he will be revealed as a big time real life villain. I think how I wish that Chris and Edge would have had a long run as tag team champions. I know they both held the Red Globe and Blue Globe tag titles, but Edge busted his Achilles early in that, which led to the creation of Jericho. When Dave gets back in the ring, Jim points out how this is Batista's SummerSlam debut, and according to Ross, it is astounding how fast he has risen the ranks of WWE. But to me, that is not entirely accurate because I have eyes and I know what Vince likes and who he desires to push. And when you see a young beast in like this Batista, of course he's going to advance quickly. Jericho gets a massive pop from just a simple roll-up, but Edge hits a spear and retains. It was a totally fine 3 out of 5 star match. This one, it was a little odd due to the crowd being so against Edge. Ross says how Edge has had a good amount of fortune at SummerSlam, and I feel like that continues up until the point The Undertaker sends him to hell inside of a cell. Whether it's your first time here or you're a regular here at Mr. Super Oz, I just want to thank you for tuning in to the channel. It exists because I, Oz, from the channel Mr. Super Oz, I wrote a 68-page graphic novel called Everlasting Survivors. Volume 1 is called All Day Long. If you follow the link in the description of this video, you can get yourself hats, shirts, posters, all kinds of fun things. But most importantly, you can get the story itself. And the more people that pick up the story, the greater the chances are that there can be continued adventures with these heroes. If you could, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment, enjoy. Grudge match time. Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle with Luther Reigns. This feud has been going on since WrestleMania, so 5 months of twists and turns. Awesome hype package. This was such a crazy time, and realistically, Kurt Angle has had such a crazy career. He was SmackDown general manager and also a fake luchador because of in storyline fake injury, but in real life, the man struggled with lots of injuries. I just love Eddie Guerrero being honest about lying, cheating, and stealing. Kurt's second here, Luther Reigns, what a forgettable dude, and also an odd pairing with him and Angle. Love seeing Eddie's lowrider entrance, and honestly, both he and Kurt are among my favorite of this era, and really, just any era. Kurt continues to be great into his TNA time, and Eddie was fun back in WCW and ECW. Such a clean and crisp start with Eddie showing Kurt he can, match him or try to match him at his mat game. Eddie locking in Kurt's ankle lock on Angle is a very fun and surprising way to start this match out early. It's purely mind games because Eddie knows he's not beating Kurt that early on. Kurt reverses out and hits an Angle slam and then pops Guerrero into an ankle lock all of his own. Such exciting action. Eddie gets to the ropes and the referee forces the break, but then Luther gets involved by attacking Eddie when the referee is looking away at Kurt Angle. I know this is a very small thing, but I'm a big fan of the Raw and SmackDown referees having different shirts. This even persists into the era of ECW. I like when they all three have different referee shirts. And, I like that Raw and SmackDown have different rope colors, and they all have, I like it when the shows have distinct entrances. I know this has nothing to do with SummerSlam, but, whatever. We continue to get echoes of WrestleMania 20, which was, very entertaining in and of itself. Only this time, instead of Eddie selling his ankle and untying his boot to lure Kurt into putting him in the ankle lock and pushing off the boot to get free and then do the roll-up to retain, Kurt is the one who is working to get Eddie's boot off, to be able to attack it without the protection of having the boot there. Eddie is able to hit the Three Amigos and attempts to go to the top rope for his frog splash, but Kurt, in very classic angle, he gets that shot of adrenaline in his soul and leaps to the top from the mat and hits a surprise but beautiful slam. This match is a masterclass of just great wrestling. When Kurt finally gets Eddie's boot off, he stomps on that ankle and locks in the submission. Eddie works out of it, and Brian Hebner gets knocked down while the ref is out. Eddie uses his boot as a weapon. Guerrero takes out Reigns, and when the referee comes to, Eddie hits his frog splash, but Kurt kicks out and locks on the ankle lock for the win. It's such a classic, great 5 out of 5 stars. This thing went 13 minutes and 38 seconds, but every bit of it was just pure greatness. The next recap package cracks me up when Triple H says, "Eugene, I was never your friend. Hunter just has such a powerful delivery." Triple H legit has one of the best entrances, and of course he is accompanied by the Nature Boy Ric Flair. One thing I never expected was to feel nostalgic for Eugene, a character. I know Nick Dinsmore has talent, but I wasn't high on Eugene in real time. But that package and this presentation helps me feel like he is a good person, basically. I didn't realize how many of these matches started with fist flying until I typed up my notes. This one, Booker T, Matt Hardy, and Kane. It makes sense because they're not really matches built around a sporting contest. So to do the collar and elbow tie-up and, trying to take control characteristic of a good, clean match wouldn't have fit for these things. It's just it didn't hit me until I was typing it up. When Eugene is in control, Triple H goes to the outside and hides behind Lillian Garcia. This is a very Macho Man, Randy Savage, and Miss Elizabeth type move. Helmsley then preps the Spanish announce table and attempts to suplex Eugene from inside the ring to outside through the table. Eugene reverses, which is much safer for both guys. Triple H fakes an injury and the referee throws up the X to call for help. I hate when the official plays along with fake injuries. I know that Eugene, the character, is supposed to be not able to pick up on the fact that Triple H isn't hurt. That's okay. He can fall for the illusion, but the referee should not. And they definitely shouldn't be using the traditionally real thing in this clearly not real incident. One thing I like about the Eugene character is, and something that I think makes him actually smart and not slow like they portray him to be, is he knows everybody's big move and uses them whenever it's convenient for him, whether it be The Rock's rock bottom, Hogan's big leg drop, Stone Cold Stunner, or Triple H's pedigree. And this kind of reminds me of how Cody Rhodes says and gets people irritated with him by saying that if I wrestle you more than 5 times, I can steal your moves. Because while Eugene didn't wrestle those people, his character's mentality is, oh, these are my favorites, this is what wins for them, I'll use it, which makes sense. And when we get to the finish, William Regal tries to keep Ric Flair from helping Hunter, but Eugene gets distracted, and Triple H takes advantage, hits a pedigree, and wins. It was a 4 out of 5 star match. Again, both these guys are great at wrestling, and they do a really good job together. It went 14 minutes and 6 seconds. Before the 2 world title matches, they waste time with the Diva Search contestants, Team Dream, playing dodgeball against Team Diva. Trish Stratus, Molly Holly, Jazz, Stacy Keibler, Nydia, Victoria, and Gail Kim. Such ridiculousness. Jonathan Coachman is trying to do his best to hype up these women, but I just don't care. Team Dream is Joy Giovanni, Michelle McCool, Chrissy Hemme, Layla, I forget her last name, and some other meaningless Diva Search contestants. The non-employed, or I don't even know what you call it, the people who are off the street the not full-time wrestlers win, and then Trish treats her team like junk. But so what? Like, the only bright side of this is it didn't take too much time. Like, it took too much time, but it could have definitely gone longer, and so I'm grateful that it didn't. Time for the Ministry of Darkness to explode. Just kidding. While, yes, John Bradshaw Layfield was once an acolyte of The Undertaker, JBL is a total 180 degrees different character than he was when he was in the team of the Acolytes with Farouk, which is really interesting given that The Undertaker has changed so much over the years, but I still recognize him as The Undertaker regardless of his character changes, whereas with Bradshaw, Justin Hawk Bradshaw, Blackjack Bradshaw, Bradshaw from the Acolytes, Bradshaw from the APA, and John Bradshaw Layfield all feel like totally different people. I mean, I know they're not different people, but could you personally imagine beer drinking Bradshaw having a manservant like the chief of staff from JBL's new cabinet, Orlando Jordan, or for that cowboy with the big black mustache, Blackjack Bradshaw, having a very Virgil-like helper? I mean, I think one thing that would have made me like Orlando Jordan better in this role was if they'd have cut off his sleeves and just let it be a modern-day $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase and Virgil pairing. John and Taker fight on the outside early on, and when they get into the ring, JBL takes control. When Undertaker goes for old school, it's weird seeing Bradshaw go to the top rope, but he hits a shoulder block, and it worked. Undertaker doesn't hit his vintage move, as Michael Cole calls it, which is funny because at this point I don't think he's yet worn out the phraseology of vintage so-and-so like he will go on to do. Orlando Jordan interfering is frustrating, but John does use the ring post against The Undertaker as if it is his partner as well, so that's kind of cool. Bradshaw is more aggressive in this match than I remembered the character ever being. I mean, the JBL character. Because I always thought of him as a cowardly money man and not so much that classic cowboy that he used to be. In this match, JBL is taking the dead man to town. Like, it's funny, Nick Patrick is not very effective, and I wonder if he's ever been effective. He's so easily distractible, and JBL is able to use a chair to attack The Undertaker. Dang, this Canadian crowd has started the wave. They just don't seem to care, which is affecting my enjoyment of the match. The crowd is now chanting for the Spanish announce table. Come on, guys. This is not the right way to go. Usually Canada doesn't act so anti the wrestling. I also have to have it cross my mind, or it does cross my mind at this point. How will the crowd treat Chris Benoit in the main event? Because he is from Canada and they were anti-Edge. And while, yes, both JBL and The Undertaker are from Texas, they are just not into this WWE Championship match. And, you know, obviously, I fall out of favor with it when it ends in disqualification. It went 17 minutes and 37 seconds, and it was just a passable 2 out of 5. My issue is, if you'd have given us a clean win, which makes JBL look stronger, and then did all the post-match shenanigans with The Undertaker busting open JBL, chokeslamming through the roof of his car, or limousine, and then having Orlando Jordan place the world title on John's midsection while he's being carted out on a gurney, I probably would have liked this match more just because it gave us a finish. It is now time for the main event. World Heavyweight Champion Chris Benoit defends against Randy Orton. Entertaining to see Randy coming out to the Evolution theme song. It was an unexpected choice. Speaking of entrance theme songs, Chris Benoit's theme song really rocks. I struggle to get excited for a Chris Benoit match because, well, he's got this dark cloud hanging over him, or at least in my mind, because all I can think about is how every news station, when the incident happened, would talk about him nonstop and, the loss of Nancy and Daniel. And so it's going to be hard. About the match itself, early on, both men are trying to get dominance with clean classic wrestling. Jim Ross says that they remind him of Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair in their world title series from WCW. Although the funny thing is, to me, Randy gives me hints of that WCW Dustin Rhodes, since they both are naturals at this. Randy tries for a sharpshooter here in Canada, but the crippler gets him in a crossface. It is sick watching Chris try to dive out onto Randy and instead smashing his own head into the barricade. Painful and scary stuff. Again, it is hard to watch, given that I know what is to come. RKO out of nowhere for the win. The match went 20 minutes and 8 seconds. It was a fine 3 out of 5 match, but I swear, if I had been reviewing this at the actual time that it came out, I probably would have definitely given it, or definitely maybe would have given it a higher score. But given Benoit's legacy not being good, it makes it a struggle to get into the contest. And so this 17th annual SummerSlam overall gets a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a good show. It just wasn't a great or spectacular show. Thank you for tuning in, and come back all next week for fun content from Mr. Super Oz.